All right, so get this. Researchers are finding some pretty strange stuff in long COVID patients, and there's this protein called ORF10 that might be a key piece of the puzzle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so today we're diving deep into ORF10 and exploring potential recovery strategies around it,
Okay.
especially those focused on something called spike protein detox.
Interesting.
But remember, we're here to unpack the science, not give medical advice.
Right.
Always talk to your doctor before making any health decisions.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, okay, you fought off the virus, great.
Yeah.
But what about the aftermath?
Hmm.
That's where this ORF10 protein comes in, and it's kind of a sneaky one.
Really?
So what exactly is this ORF10?
Well, ORF10 is a protein encoded by the SARS-CoV-2 virus.
Okay.
And it's been found to interfere with the MAVS pathway.
MAVS pathway.
Yeah, which is like our cell's alarm system when a virus invades.
Okay, alarm system. I'm listening.
Yeah.
But how does messing with that pathway actually help the virus?
So think of it this way. The MAVS pathway is responsible for triggering the production of interferons, which are like the body's first responders to a viral invasion. They signal to other cells that there's a problem and help to limit the virus's spread.
Okay.
ORF10, by interfering with this pathway, essentially muffles that alarm,
Oh, wow.
allowing the virus to replicate more freely.
So it's like ORF10 is cutting the phone lines so the cells can't call for backup?
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Sneaky indeed.
And what's particularly interesting is this interference with the MAVS pathway might be linked to some of the long-term effects people are experiencing.
Right after the initial COVID infection.
Exactly.
Okay, now that's where it gets really concerning.
Yeah.
So if ORF10 is this little saboteur, are there ways to fight back?
Well,
I know our sources mentioned something about blocking ORF10 with certain supplements. Is there
Yeah.
any science to back that up?
there are indeed some promising avenues of research in that area.
Good.
One strategy involves boosting the body's natural defenses, particularly by increasing levels of a powerful antioxidant called glutathione.
Glutathione.
Yes.
Isn't that the one everyone calls the master antioxidant?
Yeah, it is.
Sounds pretty impressive.
It is very powerful.
But is there actual research showing that that increasing glutathione is effective in this context?
There's definitely a growing body of research on NAC and its potential benefits for various health conditions.
NAC.
Yes, or N-acetylcysteine.
Okay.
While more research is needed specifically on its role in COVID-19 recovery, some studies suggest that NAC can increase glutathione levels,
Okay.
which could potentially help to counteract the oxidative stress caused by the virus and support the immune system.
Okay, so it's not a guaranteed cure-all.
Right.
Potentially another tool in the toolbox.
Exactly.
What else are researchers looking at to target this ORF10 issue?
Another interesting compound is quercetin.
Quercetin.
It acts as a zinc ionophore.
Okay, so zinc itself has antiviral properties.
Yes, but it needs help getting inside our cells to do its job effectively.
Right.
Quercetin essentially acts like a key, unlocking the door for zinc to enter the cells and fight the virus.
So it's all about teamwork.
Yes,
Quercetin helps zinc, and zinc fights the virus.
that's it.
But is any old zinc supplement effective here?
That's a great question.
Or are there specific types that work better with quercetin?
And one that researchers are still exploring.
Okay.
Some forms of zinc, like zinc picolinate and zinc glycinate, are thought to be more easily absorbed by the body.
Got it.
There's also some interesting research on the combination of quercetin with zinc and vitamin C,
Oh, wow.
as all three have roles to play in immune support.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So it seems like there's still a lot to learn about how these different nutrients interact.
definitely.
Okay, what else have we got on the list of potential ORF10 blockers?
Resveratrol is another intriguing compound
Resveratrol.
that has shown some potential in preclinical studies.
I've definitely heard of that one before.
It's a polyphenol found in red grapes, blueberries, and some other plants.
Isn't it also supposed to be good for your heart?
Research suggests that it might help to disrupt the assembly of viral proteins,
Okay.
making it harder for the virus to replicate.
So it's disrupting viral replication.
Yes, and resveratrol is also known for its potential cardiovascular benefits, partly due to its antioxidant properties. And what's particularly interesting is some studies suggest it might also support mitochondrial health.
Hold on, mitochondria.
Yes.
Those are the powerhouses of our cells, right?
Exactly.
Like the energy factories.
And when our mitochondria are functioning optimally, our cells have more energy to fight off invaders and repair damage. So resveratrol could potentially be a double whammy, both disrupting viral replication and supporting cellular energy production.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
It is.
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides to resveratrol?
Well, it's important to note that most of the research on resveratrol and viral infections has been done in vitro or in animal models.
Okay.
Human studies are still limited,
Right.
so more research is definitely needed to understand its full potential and any potential side effects.
Right. Always good to keep that in mind.
Definitely.
It seems like a lot of this research is still in its early stages.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's one more supplement on the list for blocking ORF10,
Yes.
and it's one that's been pretty controversial, ivermectin.
Ivermectin is a drug that's been used for decades to treat parasitic infections.
Right.
Some early studies suggested it might have antiviral properties against SARS-CoV-2.
Mm.
But the evidence is mixed, and there are concerns about potential side effects, especially when used without medical supervision.
So this is one where we absolutely need to stress the importance of talking to a doctor, right?
Absolutely. Ivermectin is not a DIY treatment.
Right.
It should only be used under the strict guidance of a healthcare professional
Right.
who can assess your individual situation, determine if it's an appropriate option, and monitor for any potential side effects.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered the basics of ORF10, this sneaky little viral protein, and we've explored some potential strategies for blocking its action.
Right.
But ORF10 is just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
We also need to talk about the lingering effects of the spike protein itself.
Uh-huh.
And that brings us to the topic of spike protein detox.
Okay.
Are you ready to dive into that?
Absolutely. This is where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk about detox,
Mm-hmm.
but what does that actually mean in this context? We're not
Well-
talking about some fad diet or extreme cleanse.
No.
It's about understanding how the body naturally eliminates harmful substances and how we might support those processes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are some of the strategies that our sources suggest for supporting the body's natural detoxification processes,
Right.
especially when it comes to spike protein?
Well, one area of interest is the role of certain foods and supplements that can bind to toxins and help to escort them out of the body.
Okay.
For example, chlorella and spirulina.
Chlorella and spirulina.
Two types of algae are known for their ability to bind to heavy metals and other toxins.
I actually have some spirulina powder in my pantry.
Oh, nice.
I usually add it to smoothies.
They're both becoming increasingly popular as superfoods.
Yeah.
And for good reason. They're packed with nutrients and have a number of potential health benefits, including their detoxifying properties.
So they're like little toxin magnets pulling out the bad stuff.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But do they actually bind to spike protein specifically?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are still investigating.
Okay.
While we don't have definitive evidence yet on their direct binding to spike protein,
Right.
they are known to bind to a wide range of toxins.
Okay.
So it's definitely an area worth exploring further.
Okay, so more research is needed,
Yeah,
but it's definitely an interesting avenue to consider.
definitely.
What other strategies are there for supporting detoxes?
Wow.
I know our sources mentioned something about milk thistle.
Milk thistle is a plant that's been used for centuries to support liver health.
Okay.
And the liver is our body's main detoxification organ, filtering out all sorts of harmful substances from the bloodstream.
So milk thistle is like giving our liver a little extra support to do its job.
Exactly.
But how exactly does it work?
Milk thistle contains a compound called silymarin,
Okay.
which has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties.
Mm-hmm.
It's thought to help protect liver cells from damage and enhance the liver's ability to break down toxins.
So it's not specifically targeting spike protein,
Right.
but rather supporting the liver's overall detox capacity.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What else is on the detox list? I know our sources mentioned something about dandelion root tea,
Oh, yeah.
which seems almost too simple to be true.
Don't underestimate the power of simple remedies.
Right.
Dandelion root tea might sound gentle, but it's actually quite effective in supporting kidney and lymphatic drainage.
Wait, dandelion root tea, like the weeds in my backyard.
The very same. Dandelion root is a natural diuretic,
Okay.
meaning it helps flush out excess fluids and toxins through urine.
Mm-hmm.
It also supports the lymphatic system, which plays a key role in removing waste and toxins from the body's tissues.
So it's like a two-pronged approach,
Yeah,
supporting both the kidneys and the lymphatic system.
exactly.
That's pretty impressive for a humble weed.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Okay, what other detox strategies are we looking at?
Well, this one might surprise you, sonotherapy.
Sonotherapy.
Yeah.
Like relaxing in a hot room? How does that help with detox?
Sweating is one of the body's natural ways of eliminating toxins.
Okay.
And when you sit in a sauna, you sweat a lot.
Yeah.
And this can help flush out those lingering toxins, including potentially viral fragments,
So we're literally sweating out the bad stuff.
basically.
Yeah,
I like it.
it's a good one.
Any caveats with sauna therapy?
Of course, it's important to listen to your body and not overdo it.
Stay hydrated, and if you have any health conditions, it's always best to consult with your doctor before using a sauna.
Good point. Safety first.
Yes.
Anything else on the detox list?
Last but certainly not least, hydration.
Okay.
Drinking plenty of water is crucial for supporting all of the body's detox pathways.
Right.
Water helps flush toxins out through urine and sweat, and it keeps everything running smoothly.
Right. Sometimes the simplest things are the most important.
I agree.
Okay, so we've got a whole arsenal of detox strategies here,
We do.
from superfoods to saunas to good old-fashioned water.
Exactly.
It's not about finding a magic bullet, but rather supporting the body's natural ability to cleanse and heal.
I like that.
But detox is just one part of the recovery picture.
Right.
We also need to talk about lifestyle factors that can play a role in bouncing back stronger after COVID.
Absolutely. And this is where things get really empowering.
Okay.
Because these are things we have a lot of control over. It's not just about what we put into our bodies,
Right.
but also about how we live our lives.
Yeah.
And these lifestyle choices can have a profound impact on our overall health and resilience,
Right.
which in turn supports our ability to recover from illness.
I love that it's about taking a holistic approach to well-being.
Exactly.
So what are some of the lifestyle interventions that our sources highlight as being particularly beneficial for COVID recovery?
Well, one strategy that's gained a lot of attention lately is intermittent fasting.
Okay, I've heard a lot about intermittent fasting, but I'm still not quite sure I understand it.
It's not about what you eat, but when you eat.
Okay.
It involves cycling between periods of eating and voluntary fasting on a regular schedule.
What's the idea behind it? And how does it relate to COVID recovery?
One of the key benefits of intermittent fasting is that it triggers a cellular process called autophagy.
Autophagy.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is intense, but in a good way.
Okay.
Autophagy is basically our body's cellular recycling system.
Hmm.
And when we fast, our cells start to break down and recycle old or damaged components, kind of like a built-in cleanup crew.
So it's like giving our cells a deep clean. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But how does this help with COVID recovery specifically?
Well, some researchers believe that autophagy might help to clear out any lingering viral debris and damaged cellular components that could be contributing to long COVID symptoms.
Oh, interesting.
It's still an area of ongoing research, but the potential is definitely intriguing.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our cells.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, what else do we have on the lifestyle list?
Sleep.
Sleep.
We all know it's important, but in the context of COVID recovery, it becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
When we sleep, our bodies are hard at work, repairing tissues, boosting our immune system, and fighting off inflammation.
So skimping on sleep is basically sabotaging our recovery efforts.
Not necessarily sabotaging,
Okay.
but it's definitely not doing us any favors.
Right.
Sleep deprivation weakens our immune system, hinders our body's ability to repair damage, and can even make us more susceptible to future infections.
Okay, point taken. I'm going to prioritize those Z's.
Good.
What else do we have on the lifestyle list?
Exercise.
Exercise.
And I'm not talking about marathon training here.
Yeah.
Moderate exercise like brisk walking, swimming, or yoga can do wonders for our recovery.
I know exercise is good for you in general, but how does it specifically help with COVID recovery?
Exercise improves circulation,
Okay.
helping to deliver oxygen and nutrients to our tissues while also flushing out waste products. It also boosts our lymphatic system, which, as we discussed earlier, is crucial for removing toxins and waste from the body.
Great. It's all connected.
It is.
So we're supporting those detox pathways we talked about earlier
Yeah.
while also boosting our overall health and energy levels.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Okay. Last but not least, we have stress management.
Right.
I think we can all relate to feeling stressed these days.
Yeah.
But how does stress impact our recovery from COVID?
Chronic stress weakens our immune system,
Oh, wow.
making us more vulnerable to infections and hindering our ability to heal. It also disrupts hormonal balance and can contribute to inflammation throughout the body.
So finding ways to manage stress is essential for supporting our overall recovery.
Absolutely. Whether it's meditation, Deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, or engaging in hobbies we enjoy, finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial for supporting our physical and mental well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
They have.
From blocking that sneaky ORF10 protein to thinning our blood, supporting our body's natural detox pathways, and making lifestyle choices that boost our overall resilience. There are so many ways we can empower ourselves on the road to recovery.
Definitely.
But we're just getting started.
Oh.
Stay tuned because in the next part of our deep dive, we'll be exploring some even more targeted strategies for supporting healthy blood flow and addressing those lingering effects of the spike protein.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. One of the things that's really caught my attention in the research is the connection between COVID-19 and blood clotting. Yeah, it's not something that's always talked about, but it can have some serious implications for long-term health.
Right. That doesn't get as much airtime as some of the other long COVID symptoms.
Yeah.
I guess I always thought of COVID as primarily a respiratory thing. So
Yeah.
what's the link between this virus and blood clotting?
It seems that COVID-19 can trigger something called hypercoagulability,
Hypercoagulability.
which essentially means the blood becomes thicker and more prone to clotting.
Okay, so thick blood clots, definitely not something you want.
No, not at all.
But why does this happen with COVID? What's the mechanism there?
It's not fully understood yet,
Okay.
but it seems to be related to the inflammation the virus triggers throughout the body.
Okay.
This inflammation can damage blood vessels and activate platelets, those tiny cells responsible for clotting,
Right.
which can lead to an increased risk of clots forming.
And those clots can then travel to vital organs, causing some serious complications like stroke or heart attack.
Exactly.
That's pretty scary.
It is a serious concern, and it's one of the reasons why researchers are exploring various blood-thinning strategies in the context of COVID-19 recovery.
Okay, so it's not just about addressing immediate symptoms,
Right.
but about potentially reducing long-term risks as well.
Precisely. It's kind of a preventative measure, too.
Like trying to minimize the potential damage down the road.
Exactly. And there are a number of promising avenues being explored, both in terms of pharmaceutical interventions and natural approaches.
Okay, well, let's dive into those natural approaches because I know our sources mentioned several potential blood thinners.
Okay.
One that caught my eye was nattokinase.
Nattokinase.
Honestly, I've never even heard of that one before.
It's an enzyme derived from fermented soybeans.
Fermented soybeans.
It's been used in traditional Japanese medicine for centuries, and modern research is starting to uncover its potential benefits.
So are we talking about something like a supercharged version of miso soup?
Not quite.
Okay.
But it is fascinating how traditional food practices often have a basis in science.
Yeah.
In the case of nattokinase, research suggests it has potent fibrinolytic activity.
Fibrinolytic. Break that down for me.
Sure, fibrin is a protein that's essential for blood clotting.
Okay.
It basically forms a mesh that traps blood cells and stops bleeding when you get a cut, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But when fibrin production goes into overdrive, it can lead to those dangerous clots we talked about.
Right.
Nattokinase works by breaking down fibrin, helping to keep those clots in check.
So it's like a clot-busting enzyme.
Pretty much.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
But are there any downsides to using nattokinase?
Well,
Like, could it interact with other medications someone might be taking?
that's a great question, and it highlights the importance of working with a healthcare professional before incorporating any new supplements into your regimen.
Right, of course.
Nattokinase can indeed interact with certain medications, particularly blood thinners.
Okay.
So it's crucial to have that conversation with your doctor to make sure it's safe for you.
Right. Safety first. Always good to remember that. Okay, what other natural blood thinners are on our list?
Next up is one you've probably heard of, omega-3 fatty acids.
Omega-3s.
These are the healthy fats found in fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, as well as in flax seeds and chia seeds.
Yeah, omega-3s are good for just about everything, right? Heart health, brain health.
They really are.
Like a cure-all.
And one of the ways they benefit heart health is by reducing inflammation and preventing excessive platelet aggregation.
Hold on, remind me what platelet aggregation is again.
Platelet aggregation is basically when platelets clump together to form a clot.
Right?
It's a normal process. It's essential for stopping bleeding.
Yeah.
But when it happens excessively, it can lead to those dangerous clots we've been talking about.
Right.
Omega-3s help to keep that process in check.
Okay, so omega-3s are like the peacekeepers of our circulatory system.
I like that analogy.
Got it. What else is on the list?
Believe it or not, garlic has blood-thinning properties too.
Garlic.
It contains a compound called allicin, which has been shown to inhibit platelet aggregation and improve blood flow.
Wait, garlic as in warding off vampires and making my breath smell?
The very same.
Ah, no way.
It seems like this humble ingredient might have more benefits than we realized.
Oh.
And speaking of surprising blood thinners, ginger also makes the list.
Ginger.
It works by inhibiting the production of thromboxane, a substance that promotes clotting.
I eat a ton of garlic and ginger. My family jokes that I'm immune to vampires, but maybe it's helping with more than just that.
Huh, that's great.
So we've got nattokinase, omega-3s, garlic, ginger, anything else?
Last but not least, we have vitamin E.
Okay.
While it's primarily known as an antioxidant, vitamin E also plays a role in preventing platelet adhesion,
Okay.
meaning it helps keep those platelets from sticking together and forming clots.
Got it.
You can get vitamin E from foods like almond, spinach, and sunflower seeds.
So we've got a whole arsenal of natural blood thinners here, all working in different ways to keep our blood flowing smoothly.
We do.
But it seems like there's some overlap in how they work. Are there any advantages to using a combination of these, or would that be overkill?
That's a really insightful question. And the answer, as with most things related to health, is that it depends.
Okay.
It depends on your individual needs, your current health status, any medications you might be taking, and a whole host of other factors.
So this is where it's really crucial to work with a healthcare professional who can help you navigate all of these options, right?
Absolutely. They can help you determine which strategies might be most appropriate for you and how to incorporate them safely and effectively into your overall health plan.
Makes sense. All right, so we've covered blocking ORF10, we've explored some natural blood thinners, and we talked about supporting the body's natural detoxification processes. But there's another crucial piece of the recovery puzzle that I want to dive into.
Okay.
Lifestyle interventions. What makes this aspect so important?
What's empowering about this section is that it shifts the focus to things we can actively control.
Okay.
It's not just about what we put into our bodies, but also about how we live our lives. And these lifestyle choices can have a profound impact on our overall health and resilience, which in turn supports our ability to recover from illness.
Right. It's about taking a proactive approach to our well-being.
Exactly.
So what are some of the lifestyle interventions that our sources highlight as being particularly beneficial for COVID recovery?
Well, one strategy that's gained a lot of attention lately is intermittent fasting.
Oh, okay. I've heard a lot about intermittent fasting, but I'm still not quite sure I understand it.
It's not about what you eat, but when you eat.
Okay.
It involves cycling between periods of eating and voluntary fasting on a regular schedule.
What's the idea behind it, and how does it relate to COVID recovery?
One of the key benefits of intermittent fasting is that it triggers a cellular process called autophagy.
Autophagy, that sounds pretty intense.
It is intense, but in a good way.
Okay.
Autophagy is basically our body's cellular recycling system. When we fast, our cells start to break down and recycle old or damaged components, kind of like a built-in cleanup crew.
So it's like giving our cells a deep clean. I can get behind that, but how does this help with COVID recovery specifically?
Well, some researchers believe that autophagy might help to clear out any lingering viral debris and damaged cellular components that could be contributing to long COVID symptoms.
Oh, interesting.
It's still an area of ongoing research, but the potential is definitely intriguing.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our cells?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, what else do we have on the lifestyle list?
Sleep.
Sleep.
We all know it's important, but in the context of COVID recovery, it becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
When we sleep, our bodies are hard at work repairing tissues, boosting our immune system, and fighting off inflammation.
So skimping on sleep is basically sabotaging our recovery efforts.
Not necessarily sabotaging, but it's definitely not doing us any favors.
Okay.
Sleep deprivation weakens our immune system, hinders our body's ability to repair damage, and can even make us more susceptible to future infections.
Okay, point taken. I'm going to prioritize those Z's.
Good.
What else do we have on the lifestyle list?
Exercise, and I'm not talking about marathon training here.
Okay.
Moderate exercise like brisk walking, swimming, or yoga can do wonders for our recovery.
I know exercise is good for you in general, but how does it specifically help with COVID recovery?
Exercise improves circulation, helping to deliver oxygen and nutrients to our tissues while also flushing out waste products. It also boosts our lymphatic system, which, as we discussed earlier, is crucial for removing toxins and waste from the body.
Right, it's all connected.
It is.
So we're supporting those detox pathways we talked about earlier while also boosting our overall health and energy levels. Makes sense.
Okay, last but not least, we have stress management. I think we can all relate to feeling stressed these days.
Yeah, definitely.
But how does stress impact our recovery from COVID?
Chronic stress weakens our immune system, making us more vulnerable to infections. And hindering our ability to heal it also disrupts hormonal balance and can contribute to inflammation throughout the body.
So finding ways to manage stress is essential for supporting our overall recovery. Absolutely. Whether it's meditation, deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, or engaging in hobbies, we enjoy finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial for supporting our physical and mental well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from blocking that sneaky ORF10 protein to supporting healthy blood flow boosting detoxification and making lifestyle choices that support overall resilience. There are so many ways we can empower ourselves on the road to recovery. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the concept of personalized medicine. It seems like there's no one-size-fits-all approach here. What are your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. Everyone's body is different, and what works for one person might not work for another. That's why it's so crucial to work with a healthcare professional who can help you tailor these strategies to your individual needs and circumstances.
Right.
They can take into account your medical history, any medications you're taking, your lifestyle, and other factors to create a personalized plan that's right for you.
That makes sense. It's like having a health detective on your side, helping you decipher all the clues and figure out the best course of action.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of potential strategies, but it seems like the key takeaway here is to work with a healthcare professional to find what works best for you. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up this part of our deep dive?
Just one more thing. It's
Yeah.
important to remember that this is an ongoing journey. Recovery from COVID-19, especially when it comes to long COVID, can be a process. And it's okay to take it one step at a time. Don't get discouraged if you don't see results overnight. Focus on making small, sustainable changes and celebrate your progress along the way.
I love that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And speaking of marathons, we're going to take a quick break and then dive into the final chapter of our COVID-19 recovery deep dive, exploring some cutting-edge research and potential future directions in this field. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our COVID-19 recovery deep dive, and I'm really excited about this section because we're going beyond the well-trodden path here and exploring some cutting-edge research and potential future directions.
Absolutely.
What are some of the areas that have you particularly intrigued?
One area that's really fascinating is the exploration of personalized approaches to recovery.
Personalized approaches.
We've touched on this throughout our discussion,
Right.
but I think it's worth emphasizing that everyone's body is unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
You know, that's something I've been thinking about a lot as we've been talking.
Yeah.
It seems like there are so many potential strategies out there.
Right.
But how do we know which ones are right for us as individuals?
That's a great question.
I mean, we're not all walking around with our own personal lab and research team.
No, we're not.
So how do we figure that out?
That's where the field of personalized medicine comes in. Researchers are working on developing tools and technologies that can help us understand our individual genetic makeup, our microbiome, our specific immune responses, and a whole host of other factors that influence how our bodies respond to illness and treatment.
Okay, so it's like taking a deep dive into our own personal biology.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
It is pretty cool.
But how does this translate into practical applications for COVID recovery?
Yep.
I mean, are we talking about individualized treatment plans based on our DNA?
That's exactly where this field is heading.
Wow.
Imagine a future
Okay.
where you can get a simple blood test or saliva swab. And based on your unique genetic and biological profile, your doctor can recommend a tailored recovery plan.
Wow.
That includes specific supplements, dietary recommendations, lifestyle interventions, and even personalized medications that are most likely to be effective for you.
That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
I know, it's pretty futuristic.
But it also makes so much sense.
It does.
I mean, why wouldn't we want to personalize our approach to health and recovery? It seems like such a more targeted and potentially effective way to go about it.
I agree.
Are there any other areas of research that have you particularly excited?
Another area that's really promising is the development of new antiviral therapies that target specific mechanisms of the virus.
Okay.
We talked about ORF10 earlier and how it interferes with the body's immune response.
Right.
But there are other viral proteins and pathways that researchers are investigating as potential targets for new drugs.
I've heard a lot about monoclonal antibodies and how they're being used to treat COVID-19.
Yes.
Are those considered part of this new wave of antiviral therapies?
Yes, monoclonal antibodies are a great example of targeted antiviral therapies.
Okay.
They're basically lab-created proteins that mimic the body's natural antibodies
Mm.
and can neutralize the virus by binding to specific proteins on its surface.
So it's like giving our immune system a turbo boost.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's incredible.
It's really amazing what science can do.
Are there any other promising antiviral therapies on the horizon?
There are a number of exciting developments in the pipeline.
Okay.
One area of research is focused on developing small molecule inhibitors
Okay.
that can block specific viral enzymes that are essential for the virus's replication.
Got it.
Think of it like throwing a wrench into the virus's machinery, preventing it from making copies of itself.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got these new targeted antiviral therapies that are being developed, and we've got the emerging field of personalized medicine,
Right.
which is all about tailoring treatments to our individual biology.
Exactly.
It seems like the future of COVID recovery is heading in a really promising direction.
It really does.
But what about the people who are struggling with long COVID right now?
Yeah,
Are there any new insights or strategies that might offer them hope?
absolutely. One of the most encouraging trends in long COVID research is the growing recognition that many of the symptoms people are experiencing are rooted in inflammation and immune dysregulation.
Okay.
And this understanding is opening up new avenues for treatment, focusing on modulating the immune response and reducing inflammation throughout the body.
So it's not just about targeting the virus itself,
Right.
but also about addressing the aftermath of the infection.
Exactly. And there are a number of promising approaches being explored, including the use of anti-inflammatory medications, immune-modulating therapies, and even lifestyle interventions like diet and exercise that can help to calm down the immune system and reduce inflammation.
It's really encouraging to hear about all of this progress and innovation in the field of COVID recovery.
It is exciting.
It seems like we're moving beyond just treating the acute infection and really focusing on how to support long-term health and well-being.
I agree.
Any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up our deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is that this is an area of ongoing research and discovery.
Actor.
We're learning more about COVID-19 and its long-term effects every day, and with that knowledge comes new hope for better treatments and recovery strategies.
Right.
It's an exciting time to be in this field, and I'm confident that we'll continue to make significant strides in the years to come.
Well, I want to thank you for taking us on this deep dive. It's been fascinating to explore all of these different facets of COVID recovery, from the molecular mechanisms of the virus to the latest research on personalized medicine and beyond. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners have too. As always, we encourage everyone to consult with their healthcare providers to determine the best course of action for their individual needs. And remember, knowledge is power. And by staying informed and engaged in our own health journey, we can empower ourselves to make the best decisions for our well-being. Thanks for listening.